Question of the day. Has hip hop been destructive to black wealth and the black community? Well, there's been a lot of questions going around, or not questions, I should say, a lot of commentary going around about it being the 50th anniversary of hip hop and that hip hop has not done enough for the black community. Dr. Umar Johnson, my Philadelphia brother, has called hip hop to task. Now, a lot of this has come because of the controversy of what D1 said about hip hop and its demonic lyrics. And somewhat to the point, right? He said Rick Ross, Jim Jones, Meek Mill, and many, many others are creating demonic music. And some of the folks didn't like that. You know, Rick Ross didn't like it. I won't go into it too deep. Jim Jones didn't like it. And they kind of clowned it. And then Dr. Umar Johnson kind of chimed in, and gave his commentary. And I actually thought his commentary was spot on. But I wanted to talk about it today. So for everybody who is getting ready to eat y'all turkey, macaroni and cheese, just take a minute with me and let's go through this real quick. But the first thing I want to talk about is this commentary from Dr.
Hip-hop glamorized it. Hip-hop glorified it. Hip-hop put a spotlight on negative aspects of black culture. Hip-hop has been around for 50 years. Not a single hospital, not a single school, not a single bank, not a single supermarket, not a single distribution company. How can we call hip-hop a blessing to the black community when that type of money being made off of our culture and the community doesn't benefit from it at all? So you come to the community and give out a few turkeys. You come to the community and give out a few pair of sneakers. You come to the community and you throw a couple parties. And in exchange for some damn turkeys and chickens and some sneakers, you push death and destruction on our children for a living. And we're supposed to be okay with that because you dropped off some clothes and some turkeys. It's not acceptable until hip hop begins to be a blessing for the black community. Hip hop is an agent of white supremacy. And then the rapper will say, well, we didn't invent violence. You're right. You didn't invent violence. There was gang banging before hip hop. Okay. There was drug dealing before hip hop. There was black on black crime before hip hop. But let me tell you where hip hop is guilty. Hip hop glamorized it. Hip hop glorified it. Hip hop put a spotlight on negative aspects of black culture.
So what do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about Dr. Umar Johnson's commentary around that? Again, as you see the caption on there, it says, Dr. Umar goes off on rappers and proves D1, D runs a rapper as well, point about needing accountability in hip hop. Part of the reason I'm doing this is because I'm a major hip hop head. Love hip hop to its core. But I'm of a certain age now, right? So I can't not acknowledge the points that he is talking about. And again, no hospitals, no banks, nothing. Now, I think there is something to be said, though, that is not just hip hop, because a lot of these things have been around before hip hop even got started, right? This thinking was around, and we're going to get into that a little bit deeper because I've actually covered a lot of this stuff over the years. I was looking back on my timeline and I just realized that I've been doing this content thing for over 10 years. So I'm OG in the game, I guess. But, again, it's like you really have to start and sit down and think about what he's really saying. Now, we all know Dr. Umar Johnson is a controversial figure, to say the least. But don't kill the messenger. Listen to the message. But just jumping into everybody before we get deep into the show, Saturn Crust answered the question, is hip-hop killing black wealth? He said the answer is yes. But shout out to him. He posted that comment before I even got going. All right, my brother Lawrence is in the building as well. Happy holiday to you and yours. Whether y'all celebrate or not, happy holidays. So I'm glad you all are here, right? One thing I will say, right? The history of Thanksgiving is very, very treacherous, very, very steeped in white supremacy. But I will say this. One of the greatest things that holidays can give is fellowship, family. And one of the best ways to defeat white supremacy is by loving on your folks. So we need more Black love, y'all. More Black love. So go spend time with your folks. Give them a call. Tell them you love them. And I'm saying that because I had a death earlier this week. Well, actually, I had a funeral earlier this week. The death was a couple weeks ago. And time is short, y'all. So we got to take advantage of it now. We got to take advantage of it now. But as we go further along to this, I want to get back into this. And I will bring this clip back on in a minute, but I wanted to talk about another clip or another point that I found when thinking about this. All right. So this is something I think nobody ever thinks about, but I'll go into it a little bit deeper.
TV raps made hip hop feel like we mattered.
Now, this is a clip from the class of 88. What is the class of 88? The class of 88 is a hip hop podcast produced by Will Smith. Guess what? Hip hop is dominating podcasts as well. So he did it himself. His company produced it, and I'm guessing he's using Audible and Wondery as a distribution source. So let's check this out because I feel like they made a really good point.
That our stories were worth being told, our music was worth being heard. Finally, a company like MTV recognized us to the degree to give us a space on the channel.
MTV. Think about MTV. Think about who owns MTV. Think about that. And then think about who owns BET as well.
Of course, being on MTV also meant that we had to change entirely how we thought about our work. It wasn't just about the music anymore. The visuals were now starting to really matter. Here's Salt and Pepper.
You had started making videos. Videos just became super important. They became more important than the music at some point. Like, you have a good record, and then your video was whacked.
Right, yeah.
You know, your music falls off.
All to say, the emergence of rap on MTV brought a lot of change, and not all of it good. The success of Yo MTV Raps gave the network a lot of power over the hip-hop business. Their decision to play your video or not could make or break your whole album. Suddenly, MTV got to decide what was acceptable and what wasn't. And there was a lot.
Anytime you give somebody outside of your culture power over your culture, it's not a good thing.
Of music that MTV was still not willing to play. In 1989, they banned the video for NWA's Straight Outta Compton.
If nobody's heard Straight Outta Compton, you need to go back and listen to it, right? Because it is definitely anti-establishment.
In 1991, the video for Public Enemy's By the Time I Get to Arizona got the same treatment.
By the Time I Get to Arizona is also very anti-establishment. Please go listen to those. I know everybody that is listening to this, watching this, might not be familiar with that music. Arizona, I mean, everybody knows about Straight Outta Compton, or at least I do, but Public Enemy's, that record was created because Arizona would not acknowledge Dr. King's holiday. So that says a lot about Arizona.
Yo MTV Raps also had a big impact on Ralph McDaniels and Video Music Box. In the spring of '88, Ralph was the only game in town, but by the fall, he had serious competition. It was particularly frustrating given that Ralph had brought the whole idea for a rap show to MTV in the first place.
Brought the idea for a rap show to MTV, which they turned away.
And then they came with Yo MTV Raps. And I said, well, I knew this was going to happen. I wish it would have been me. I wish I could have had some involvement in it, but it is what it is.
It wasn't just that MTV had run with Ralph's idea. The format of Yo MTV Raps also shared many similarities with Video Music Box. It was a buzzy mix of...
Meaning they jacked his style, bit his whole style.
interviews and videos, and unlike other MTV shows which were filmed in a studio, Yo MTV Raps was filmed on location in the streets or in the clubs.
I definitely think it was appropriated. I definitely think that there were ideas that they studied. I know for a fact from Ted Demme, who was the producer of that show, rest in peace, that he used to watch my show every day. And that's where he got ideas from. And he told me that years later. But at least he told me that, because I always thought that, but I would never say it. And everybody knew, but it is what it is.
I mean, that says a lot. He told y'all a lot. I mean, I don't know if y'all get it, but man, this thing is deep. So what Dr. Umar is talking about is hip hop has not done enough for the Black community to financially support the Black community, right? But when you get corporate interests involved, it's never going to be about the community, right? So give me 1 second, y'all. Just had to readjust myself real quick. I mean, but what do y'all think about that? I mean, when you see corporate interests, like I said, think about BET, think about MTV, and who actually owns those companies. They are not Black-owned companies. And so if we are always going to expect hip-hop, which has made a boatload of money, but the large majority of the proceeds and the profits are not in the hands of the creators who are Black, that money's not necessarily going to funnel back to the Black community. Let me say that again. Since Black people don't own a lot of the infrastructure, that money is not going to funnel back to those artists and then subsequently back to the Black community. It's just not going to happen. But like I said, I've covered a lot of this stuff over the years. A lot of it. Let's see. Oh, Eunice is in the building. What up, Eunice? And Ryan is here as well. What's up, Ryan? Yes, without a doubt. But I also feel like hip-hop bears the burden for everything, right? Like Dr. Umar said, crime, drugs, so forth and so on. But nobody really takes a look at what is actually causing that and pushing that. Hip-hop is just a symptom. It's not the root cause. So Lawrence says, yes, he's right. People love fast food and junk food, but it's also bad for you. In the same vein, hip-hop could be loved and also detrimental. I'm not mad at that. I mean, I'm not mad at any of it. I love when y'all share your comments. Love to share your thoughts. Now, what could hip-hop do or the Black community do to change any of this? Because, you know, there's a lot of finger pointing, name calling, but I'm not really seeing any solutions, right? Yeah, D1 was right when he pulled up, and I didn't bring his clip today because I didn't really want to go too much into the actual content of hip hop and the lyrics. We all know what it is. There's no surprise about that. There's also a lot of good hip hop that's out there as well that I feel that a lot of times is not highlighted. And so I'm from the era of hip hop where we didn't get much play on the radio. Everything we got was underground. If you're from Philly, you know I'm talking about Lady B. If you watch anybody who talks about hip hop and the importance of hip hop or the promotion of hip hop, Lady B is key in that from a Philadelphia standpoint. Kobe Kobe from Philly as well. Very, very important, right? And so once corporations got involved in this art form, in this culture, it was no longer under the control of Black folks. So, you know, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing, in my opinion, to just say hip-hop only. Hip-hop only is the problem. And not look at any of the other forces that were in play. And also to say, well, all right, well, we know that corporations don't care about people, especially Black people. Why not own it ourselves? And by the way, we already know there's a lot of roadblocks and impediments to that as well. So there's another clip I want to show y'all. This is something that I did a few years ago. And if you ever get a chance, go look through my Black Wealth playlist on YouTube. It's probably some of the work that I've done I'm most proud of. But I wanted to take a gander at this real quick. Now, this is a clip of a video I did called J.R. Smith Reveals the Secret to Black Wealth and Black Business Success. And I wanted to play that for y'all. I'm reviewing my own stuff. How about that? I guess that's cool, right? Or is that corny? Tell me what y'all think.
It ain't about that no more. It ain't about the fame. It ain't about how much money you got. It's what you're doing for your people. Because they got golf clubs, country clubs, banks, everything for them. And then let you know, it's not for you. We didn't build this for you. Rolex, Timberland, all Gucci, Louis, all these that we wear, they tell me we didn't make this for you. Right. And we still spend the most collectively on all of that. Instead of putting it into, you got your, what I asked you about when you come from the bathroom.
He asked me what I was doing with my clothing brand and what we trying to do financial literacy for the collegiate kids.
Why would I go spend?
So real quick, right? This is a clip, like I said, of J.R. Smith talking on the I Am Athlete podcast. And so I'm playing my own content, but I gotta stop, y'all. I have to give homage to my brother, Willie Torrey. Since hip-hop was created in the Bronx, corporations continue to steal from us. Well, at least we have the museum in the Bronx. Now, what Willie didn't tell you is Willie is my big cousin. Willie is from the Bronx as well. I'm from Philly. I would spend a lot of time in New York with Willie. And Willie will tell you he took me around Harlem and the Bronx, Fordham Road, a lot of the parks. Now, the parks in New York are different than the parks in Philly. Parks in New York are like playgrounds to us in Philly. But he would take me around on his bike. Oh, God, I'm having flashbacks right now. But he would take me around on his bike, throw me on his bike. I was a little kid. He would take me to the parks. Sometimes they were just doing appearances. People like the Fat Boys, Curtis Blow, off the top of my head, Run DMC. Sometimes they were just, again, doing performances. Sometimes they were just showing up. But I have a love and affinity for hip hop because of that man right there, Willie Torrey. So got to give it up to him. So when I see everybody complain about hip hop, right, because I got to see it up close and personal because of my cousin. And I feel like we're definitely gotten away from the origins of what it was about because corporations got involved, right? And I mean, y'all know I'm a history buff, y'all know I'm a nerd. But if we don't have a different mindset about how corporations got involved, sold the culture out, sold us out, but we haven't done anything about it to take over back ownership of it, should we really complain about hip hop? That's my question. What do y'all think? Now, I want to get back into this clip, though.
$50,000 in Gucci, I can go spend $50,000 on him, and we can really do this.
Why are so many of us, to his point, why are so many of us concerned about foreign luxury brand labels?
Life. Facts.
J.R. Smith right there talking about the importance of Black-owned businesses, in particular, Black people spending with Black-owned businesses. Now listen to this guy right here. He's pretty smart, right? He's pretty smart. Many people may not know who J.R. Smith is, but he's gotten a lot of attention from this latest interview. That clip was from the I Am Athlete interview series, or I Am Athlete podcast, with B. Marshall and many, many other athletes who work on that podcast. Now, great topic. Now, there's some other things that I want to talk about as well, but here's a couple of things I want you to think about. Black unemployment right now is 6.9%. Now, I recorded this video, let me see if I can find it. Let's see, a year ago. So 6.9% a year ago in the Black community. Guess what white unemployment is, or let's say national unemployment? It's 4%. Now, those numbers have always been out of sync, out of whack for whatever reason. So 6.9% versus 4%. That's a big difference. Now, if we go back, right, it's 2023. If we go back, right now to 1963. Does anybody know what happened in 1963? The March on Washington happened in 1963. Black unemployment typically, historically, and I don't have the data right in front of me for the actual numbers, but Black unemployment historically has always been double that of the national average. Well, we typically, Black folks that is, typically only make up about 14% of the population here, but we account for 50% of the unemployment. We actually account for more than 60, 70% of people that are imprisoned, incarcerated. There's something off in the numbers, right? Something's off with that cake. The numbers, the ingredients that are baked in that cake that are producing double unemployment, high incarceration, low Black business rates. A lot of it is systemic, meaning that it's part of the overall system. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge that, though. And many folks' journey striving to be quote unquote American, we would rather just say, do better. Do better. Well, we have to do better, right? But it's more than that. If our brothers and sisters around us are not working in that same vein, it's hard for us collectively to do better. But yeah, sure, we can get some individuals to do better, but we're all connected at some point. I just told y'all Willie Torrey is my cousin, right? If Willie's hurting, I want to be hurting. We have a large family, in the New York, Philadelphia, down south, North Carolina, South Carolina region. If they're hurting, we're hurting. If they need money, we might have to give them some money, right? So how does that help our households? It doesn't. If they need something, that is, right? So it's deeper than just the individual a lot of times. So I'm saying all that to say that it's more to this than just hip hop. One of my favorite hip hop songs is by Dead Prez. I wish I could play it now, but I don't feel like getting copyright strikes. But Dead Prez song hip hop, the tagline is, or the chorus is, it's bigger than hip hop. It's bigger than hip hop. And so again, as we start talking about hip hop and its demonic forces, remember that hip hop in and of itself didn't create itself. Yes, Black folks absolutely created it. Corporations hijacked it, though. So what we have now is not solely the creation of Black folks. But I want to continue to go through this clip. Many people try to say it's not a systemic issue. I would tend to disagree. But we know one thing is for certain, that Black-owned businesses tend to hire Black people. And the more people do business with Black-owned businesses, the more opportunity you have to level out Black unemployment. Basically, more people that can get to work, more people that can get the money. So if you're interested in my thoughts on this, come on over to the other side.
That first time.
All right, I just got hit with a commercial. I don't want to watch commercials. But we'll come back to that once the commercial's over with. So give me 1 second, y'all. But what do y'all think? Do y'all think hip-hop is solely to blame? Is hip-hop solely, from the hip, the hop, the hippity, the hippity, the hop? Was that what we have now? Now, if any of y'all know history, again, I'm a nerd, hip-hop, a lot of it came about because of gang violence in New York, especially. And for the record, hip-hop isn't just rap. It's breaking, it's graffiti, it's DJing, it's culture, right? So it's a whole thing. It's not just rap. But sadly, rap gets the most attention. I get it, because rap is the part that generates the most money or attention. But we know what happens once you take the rap and the culture and you infuse it with some other corporate entity, i.e. Adidas. By the way, again, shout out to Class of '88, right? That podcast is awesome. Will Smith is doing a phenomenal job. And when you go back and you look at all of so many albums, so many hip hop albums that dropped in '88, it's phenomenal, right? I mean, I say, me personally, the golden era of hip hop is, I would say, '86 to '91-ish, maybe '92-ish, just because so many people have dropped or were running around making noise, right? P.E., Public Enemy, Dana Dane. Oh man, I mean, Jay-Z. Like, a lot of people talk about Jay-Z, but people don't realize Jay-Z is actually an '80s rapper. Hawaiian Sophie, him and Jazzo, that debuted in like '89. So he's not a new era rapper. So it's really interesting. Now, once I get past this commercial here, I want to show you something else that I thought J.R. Ryder made a great point about. Excuse me, not J.R. Ryder, J.R. Smith. J.R. Ryder's another rapper, but J.R. Smith made in that video that I had. I wish I could control my own videos. I should have actually pulled the actual video clip up so we can bypass all of this. But I didn't think about that, y'all. So my apologies. But here we go. So let's check out this clip real quick from Mr. J.R. Smith.
And accomplish with this move you making right now, this transition that you're in?
My biggest move right now is trying to change as many minds that look like us back into the Afrocentric mindset opposed to the Eurocentric mindset. Like, everything we're talking about right now, like he was just saying, after he jumps on that grenade, who's going to follow him?
Y'all understand that? When he says going from the Afrocentric mindset, from the Eurocentric mindset to the Afrocentric mindset. A lot of what we've learned is not innate, and when I say innate, like, it's not natural to us. We have been programmed. A lot of people hate when I bring up Willie Lynch, but when you read the Willie Lynch letter and what's going on and how it's playing out, and for the record, Willie Lynch is not a real person. But goddamn, if what he wrote or whoever wrote in that book isn't pretty accurate. So when you look at the Willie Lynch letter and what's playing out now, you have to acknowledge and say, maybe a lot of us do have a Eurocentric mindset. Maybe many of us having this Eurocentric mindset is the reason why hip hop has gotten so demonic, with corporations owning a lot of the content. And meaning, as we get further along into this clip, we're going to talk about it some more, meaning that if we're thinking like those who don't care for us, those who despise us, what does that mean? What is that going to get us?
So trained and it's so embedded to have that Eurocentric mindset that worry about myself, worry about me, worry about mine, worry about mine. I'm not going to help nobody else who look like me build up when everybody else do it but us. When you made over $100 million in your career, right? Is 105 going to change?
That's a great question. If you made $100 million in your career, will 105 million change anything? Well, I would say yes, but it's not going to change your lifestyle.
110 going to change your lifestyle? Realistically. You know how many people you can change lifestyle with $10 million in our hood? In our communities? We were in the lockout. We were in the, not the lockout, but we were in the bubble.
Listen to this point, y'all.
George Floyd happens.
That's right.
We stopped playing. We're in there. We're gonna ask the owners for it. We're gonna ask the owners for it. Stop asking them for shit. What are we asking them for? I went down the line. No bullshit. You can ask these dudes if not. I got Paul George sitting right here. I got DeMar DeRozan sitting right here. I got Russell Westbrook sitting right here. I'm literally sitting next to all of these dudes who are LA guys. I'm like, bro, I'm not counting your chips, but everybody else is. So you make 200, you make 200, you make 175, you make 150, you make 180. Why don't y'all have your own gym? Why we gotta go to UCLA to work out in LA every time?
I mean, what do y'all think? Is that a solid question? I think it is. I mean, because he counted up almost $1 billion. Let's say 500, because I wasn't counting. By the way, I'm actually proud of the editing I did on that. All right, let's get back to it, y'all. I'm being goofy right now. Oops, I didn't click the wrong button, y'all. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Oh, man. But what do y'all think? I mean, so far.
You got your own. Y'all all come from the exact same community. You want to inspire kids that look like you. All it takes is 5 of them. 5. 250, 250, 250, 250, 250. What bank gonna turn us down? We about to build this whole shit out for our community. We're gonna build gyms, rec centers, start leagues, and all that. Who's gonna stop us? We got that.
Great question. Now, there's some other things that go along with that, right? Anytime you're doing business, it's a very serious situation. The problem, not the problem, I jumped ahead of my thoughts, y'all. A lot of times with partnerships, though, everybody is not on the same page. It's like marriage. Partnerships, marriage. A lot of times marriages don't work because people are not on the same page and they have not figured out how to communicate. But, I mean, through partnerships, through strategic alliances, through just more communication, how could not just the athletes, right? Because I don't like the idea that Black millionaires, Black billionaires, Black rich people are the only people that can make positive change in our community. I think that's a fallacy. I think a lot of times mainstream media likes to play that up and we kind of eat it up hook, line, and sinker. If you get 5 people together and you say, you know what, we're just going to put up $50 a month collectively and then see what it turns into after a year, what would happen? What could you do with that nest egg? And yeah, we can boil it down to our individual selves as well. Like, because if you don't have the discipline to save individually, 9 times out of 10, you will not have the funds, means, mindset to save collectively either. So there's a lot to that. But what could happen? 5 people putting away $50 a month. Can somebody break out their calculator and do me a favor? $50 a month, 5 people. Excuse me, $50 a week, 5 people. $250. Rough math. Times 4 weeks. It's $1,000. Excuse me, my math is off. That's actually $1,250. Right? So $1,250 times 12. Excuse me, no. My math is wrong, y'all. $1,250, $1,250 times 52. What is that? What is that? And again, that's chump change, right? But what is it? I'm breaking out my calculator now just so I don't embarrass myself publicly on the air because I know I'm live right now. Let's see. $1,250 times 52. $65,000. In some towns, you could buy a whole home in cash for $65,000. So if you take that cash, buy a home, let's say you buy a dilapidated home in your community, you begin to renovate it, bring it up to speed. Now, that might not be all you need. I'm doing this simply for math, right? So don't call me out and say, what about renovations and taxes and maintenance? Just follow me here. What would happen if we just collectively said we'll put away $50 a week, 5 people? I mean, I think J.R. Smith has a great point, but he made some other points further along in here, and I want to go through them.
The money, we don't have the mindset. Our mindset, we
ding, 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 mindset. And so basically, most Americans are consumers, uber consumers, stupid consumers, right? Because we don't really think about the money that we're spending. We're not conscientious of the money we're spending or who we're spending with. Because, I mean, we all have to spend money at some point, right? Let's be clear. We all are consumers at some point in the game. But the question is like, do you really need all the stuff? Black Friday's tomorrow. How many of us are going to buy stuff we don't need? I'm seeing a lot of these TVs who have been discounted. Do you really need 10 TVs in your house? especially for a lot of people who got 10 TVs in their house and they ain't read 10 books in the last 10 years. But that's a whole other thing. And I'm not TV shaming. I swear. I'm not TV shaming. But if we don't have the mindset, that's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Rather go throw $60,000 in the club,
in the club,
strip club. Go throw $60,000, then go feed 2,500 people in the hood.
What do you think about that? I'll tell you what I think. I think he's absolutely right. I think oftentimes we come with a mind of servitude. Now, full disclosure, I'm usually not the guy who wants to talk about the athletes and the quote unquote black wealthy coming to save everybody. I just said that, right? Listen, one thing y'all can say about me, I am consistent. Excuse me, y'all. One thing y'all can say about me is that I am consistent in my thoughts. However, he makes a great point, and he's amongst them, right? He's amongst them. Why aren't they putting their money together to make things better for themselves and their community? Now, we have seen some teams, like a lot of the teams, not a lot of teams, but the Golden State Warriors. Many of those guys invest together because of the proximity to Silicon Valley and everything else. But we haven't seen a whole lot of joint ventures together in terms of business. All right, so a minute, I want to go back to the comments and see what y'all thoughts are. But what are y'all thinking so far? Am I off base? Am I crazy? Am I thinking? Am I logic here? Is this good stuff? Throw it in the comments and tell me what you think. All right, so I see I missed a couple of comments here. Give me 1 second, y'all. Give me 1 second. Oh, we get launched first. This Inception self-referencing as well. Just having fun, man. Just having fun. Hopefully it doesn't come off as narcissistic. Eunice says, it's absolutely high percentage of systemic racism. It started to me around the 70s. Oh, hip hop's talking. It started to me around the late 70s when, especially in the 80s, when the crack era started. That's correct. However, what a lot of people don't realize, right, as I am getting older, we talk about crack because it hit hard. It smacked the black community hard. But guess what? Coke, weed, pills, alcohol was around in the 70s and late 60s, right? And as folks love to talk about this stuff, there was a war started on the black community by a president. That president's name was Nixon. He resigned or was impeached 73, 74, I forget the exact year, right? But why did a lot of this stuff happen? Again, we're talking about systemic racism. And listen, I am not down with blaming my stuff on the man. At the end of the day, we still have to get up and do something. Hip hop lyric there, if y'all pick that up. But I believe Eunice is absolutely right. She says also, we know that the government, I jumped ahead. We also know the government planted the mess in our communities. They took a lot of the fathers out of the homes as well as mothers on drugs. Mothers and fathers on drugs. Sometimes grandmothers on drugs, right? So everybody's strung out. That's when the music started to change in the 90s. I agree. Ryan Sims says, I do not think hip-hop is to blame all by itself, but it is and has started or played a large part. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. It has played its part, large part, small part. I don't want to play semantics here, but yeah, it's definitely a part. Definitely a part. Eunice says, I agree, hip-hop is not just to blame. It's part of it, but as I mentioned, the government and systemic racism has a lot to do with the downfall of Black America as well as the music. All right? Eunice also says, this is getting busy. I must have tapped the vein. Black people know that they could not really make a lot of money on their own. I messed it up, y'all. Black people knew that they could not just really make a lot of money on their own. Some work, but because of that, white, mainly Jewish producers, music company owners, they push gangster rap. Corporations, right? And a lot of them happen to be of the Jewish persuasion or religion or culture, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what we want to call it these days. All right. Eunice also said that's one of our main problems as Black people who may be wealthy, that they do not utilize their wealth in a proper way that benefits the Black community. Keep the money in our community. Gotta give you your own horns for that, Eunice. I agree. Create your own, right? Do for self. All right. Eunice also says we all can contribute something. Everyone has a strength. Someone may have some. I'm messing up, y'all. I'm probably thinking about turkey. But she says we can contribute something. Everyone has a strength. Someone may have money. Someone may have the idea. Someone may be able to execute, have certain skills. I agree. Right? We all have talents, gifts, and abilities. God-given talents, gifts, and abilities that will put the work, can do a lot of things. All right, so $50 times 52. That's per person. What is that? Right, that is the point. Now, this is interesting, Lawrence. Hip-hop's biggest issue is range. It's the language of the youth and the rebelliousness, righteous or not. Unfortunately, it doesn't age up. It doesn't grow to your 40s. That's a rough one for me. Like, if you look at what Nas has just done, very masterful. Yes, I would say many people will say hip-hop is a young man's sport. And to a large degree it is. However, when you think about the famous KRS-One lyric, hip-hop on the whole isn't even 50 years old. It just turned 50 years today, right? So now we're in another era of hip-hop, and we'll start seeing other things. Like when we look at Nas just dropped 2 or 3 albums this year. All good, all relevant. I know a lot of times we'll say some of these older OGs don't do a great job making music once they're past their so-called prime. But who defines the prime? Again, who defines the prime? Sadly, most people don't realize that most of your thoughts, what you think, is produced from some damn commercial. Still on that for a minute. Your thoughts were generated a lot of times by a commercial. So that means your thoughts really are not your thoughts. They're somebody else's thoughts who've been transplanted, surgically inserted into your brain, and made you to believe that, hey, I thought of this on my own. What's that saying? The biggest trick the devil performs on the world is to make the world believe the devil isn't real. Something like that. I might have that wrong. All right, so Lawrence says hip-hop ends up robbing the community of its consciousness, i.e. its mindset, purpose, and destination. Let me read that again. Hip-hop ends up robbing the community of its consciousness, i.e. its mindset, purpose, and destination. If the language is all about getting money, sex, the result is more of the same. Listen, in the Bible, it talks about it. My mother beat this into my head, Proverbs 13 something. Life and death lies in the power of the tongue. So I agree with that. Life and death indeed lies in the power of the tongue. So if the language is all about getting money and not getting money for the purpose of helping people, your brother and sister, helping your community, it gets a little crazy. And I think my camera just died, y'all. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. That never happened to me live before. There's always something when doing these broadcasts. Boy, I tell you. And that was my fault because I did not plug up the power source. So let's see what we got going on now. Can we come back? Can we bring that beat back? Let's see. But while we're doing that, all right, there we go. Magic has appeared. All right, so going back to this. All right, and Willie Torrey says studies say that the average lifespan of the dollar is approximately 6 hours in Black communities. We are not on one accord. All right, damn, Willie, why'd you bring that up? I hate that stat. You know why I hate that stat? Because it's not a real stat. It's one of those things that floats around and sounds good and feels good, but it's not proven. It cannot be substantiated. And we see all these quote unquote thought leaders say the same overregurgitated bullshit. Not you, Willie, but over and over and over again. And I believe that's one of our biggest problems in the Black community is that we recycle a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of non-proven things. So then we act on hyperbole, we act on nonsense, we act on myths a lot of times, and that's dangerous. That's very dangerous. But the point that stat or that saying is trying to prove is that Black folks don't support Black-owned business enough. Now that we can get into, that has been studied, that is verifiable. The Black community generates about 1.6 trillion through wages. Excuse me, let me back up. The Black community spends 1.6 trillion annually, which is larger than most countries in the world. So these, 40 million Black folks in the United States of America spend $1.6 trillion annually. But typically, they only spend about 2% of that with Black-owned businesses. And outside of the federal government, Black-owned businesses are the highest employers in Black communities or of Black people. So it's really, really rough. Really, really rough. But I want to go back to this just in case anybody has just joined this combo and ground us and kind of reset the room.
Hip hop has been around for 50 years. Not a single hospital, not a single school, not a single bank, not a single supermarket, not a single distribution company. How can we call hip hop a blessing to the Black community when that type of money being made off of our culture in the community doesn't benefit from it at all? So you come to the community and give out a few turkeys. You come to the community and give out a few pair of sneakers. You come to the community and you throw a couple parties. And in exchange for some damn turkeys and chickens and some sneakers, you push death and destruction on our children for a living. And we're supposed to be okay with that because you dropped off some clothes and some turkeys.
Now, he's saying that, right, because, again, just to give y'all context, D1, who's a rapper from New Orleans, I believe he's a Christian. I don't want to call him a Christian rapper, but I believe he's a Christian rapper. He said hip-hop rap lyrics, to be specific, are very destructive. And so he called out some people. He called out Rick Ross. He called out Jim Jones. He called out Meek Mills. And once this started catching on, because a lot more people, I do believe, are getting or becoming conscious. Not the old school conscious, right? Where you got your Black Power fist and your Flavor Flav clock or your African medallion hanging around your neck, but conscious of just what their dollars are going to, what they're consuming in music, right? They're paying attention there. It's like this awakening. I believe there's an awakening. Maybe just on social media it is. I don't know about in real life. But Rick Ross decided to clap back, or somewhat clap back. Part of me wants to play it. But he said he helps people. He gives out turkeys. And, I agree with Dr. Umar because when I watched Rick Ross's response, for the record, I'm actually a fan of Rick Ross. If you go through my channel, I like some of Rick Ross's business acumen, right? But what he said was very Nino Brownish. They give out turkeys. They do book bag drives. And those are all cool. All needed things. I'm all for giving people food, right? I'm all for making sure our people are fed, feeding the homeless, absolutely. But that's at the basic level, in my opinion, the entry level. What about the more advanced things we could be doing with money? And again, I'm not trying to count anybody individual pockets, but let's be clear. We are talking about money, and this is a money show. So all this money that we're doing for the community, what is it really amounting to? And then a lot of times what you got to think about when you're doing things, it's an economic theory. So when you're doing things, it's called the multiplier effect or multiplier value. What multiplier effect or multiplier value does giving out turkeys, shoes, sneakers to the community? What value does it have? And what multiplier effect means is that you have something, usually an asset, that is able to generate more value once it's invested in, created, designed, right? So things that have multiplier effects, jobs, right? Let's look at real estate. Real estate is one of the most impactful things in the U.S. economy or the world economy because of how so many things are created from the construction of a real estate site, residential, commercial, doesn't matter. How many jobs does it take to build a home? How much wood do you need? How much copper or gold or wiring that you need? What plumbing things do you need? So that's like 3 or 4 things just off the top. And we didn't even get through everything that you need to build a home, design a home, right? Maintain a home going forward. Like there's a lot of things that you need. That's a classic example of a multiplier effect. So once you give out those turkeys and those sneakers and those clothes and those book bags, what else will come about from that? I mean, listen, Ryan, you make a great point. Give a man a fish, he will eat for a day. Teach a man a fish, he will eat for a lifetime, right? That's true. However, while you're teaching a man and woman, right, they need the food for the day so they can get the lesson to impact them for the lifetime. However, we know that after that day's up, you're going to need more food. So you either got to figure out a way to grow it, harvest it, buy it, right? There's more that comes after that. So after the turkeys are given out, after the sneakers are given out, after the book bags are given out, what else is coming after that? Nobody's really talking about that. And listen, I will say this for a fact. Hip hop has actually created a lot of wealth and created a lot of jobs. The question is, what are we doing with those funds once we get them? For every pair of sneakers that you're buying and you're investing into a Nike or an Adidas or whoever, how much of that money is coming back? How much of that money is actually benefiting the community? And I'm not talking about a handout. I'm just talking about the basic math. 1 + 1 = 2. You're buying a pair of sneakers. You can only wear 1 pair of sneakers at a time. No diss to my sneakerheads, right? After that, is that the best use of money? You're buying these things. You're buying all these cars. You're enriching a lot of the foreign companies, which none of them have black ownership. So when we talk about recycling a dollar, we have to get into a place where we are buying, investing, and creating things of value that have multiplier effects. If not, then we're just kind of like in a hamster wheel, just running round and round and round, and it doesn't really matter. But I want to jump back into this piece of mine. Tell me what y'all think about everything that we've had so far. Are you getting anything from this? Hopefully y'all not just here hanging out waiting for y'all turkey. Hopefully y'all getting something from this. All right, but I want to say play this last piece.
Colin joins us this morning with a closer look at the growth in Black spending power. Frank.
Hey, good morning to you, Andrew. Black spending power reached a record $1.6 trillion in 2021. The ability to buy, save, and invest more than doubling since 2000. That growth exceeding the full U.S. economy, but actually lagging other.
Now, I want y'all to think about something. 2021. What happened in 2020? What happened to all those stimulus checks? Just keep that in mind.
For ethnic groups, Latinos with a 288% increase, Asians with a 388% increase in spending power. However, other groups, they've also seen an increase in their net worth. Black Americans instead have seen their wealth actually fall by 14%. And with the S&P.
God damn. We had all this stuff, stimulus, everything else is going up, but our net worth is going down the drain. How is that even possible? What y'all got, y'all?
Gaining 27% last year. The value of U.S. homes increasing by 31% last year. Many Black leaders are asking the Black community to really rethink how it spends.
Getting fined.
Another commercial. All right, but the last question is, how do we spend? And no, I'm not here to attack anybody on what they spend. We're all consumers. We are having family gatherings today, a lot of us, right? That actually has a multiplier effect because you're spending time with your family, you're fellowshipping with your family. Hopefully you're building bonds with your family. Some of the greatest wealth creators are families. I know everybody says don't mix business with pleasure. Blood and money don't mix like, I was thinking about a Biggie lyric. But that's actually a lie. Biggie kind of lied to us. Or I should say he was misinformed. Blood and money actually does mix. When you look at the Rothschilds, the Kennedys, the Vanderbilts, all family-run businesses. You have to be able to figure out who you can work with in your family. And family doesn't always necessarily mean blood. But who can you work out with? Who can you get together with and you create value with? That's the real trick. That's the real trick. And so once you do that, you can do a lot of things. You can do a lot of things. Now, I want to finish out that clip, but I want the commercial to play. I hate commercials, y'all. hate them. So, I mean, what do y'all think about this thing, hip hop, all of that? Hip hop is the problem. Is hip hop really the problem? Or is it white supremacy is the problem? Because nobody says that. Maybe it doesn't sound cool enough, right? You can't really rap white supremacy. Or can you? I don't know, but nobody ever really talks about that. All right. I see you, and so coming right back to you. So I want to talk about this. All right, so the best place to go when looking for definitions is the dictionary. So here I pulled up the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and we pulled up the definition for Eurocentric. All right, so it says definition of Eurocentric, reflecting a tendency to interpret the world in terms of European or Anglo-American values and experiences. All right, so that's Eurocentrism defined. Afrocentric is centered on or derived from Africa or the Africans, emphasizing or promoting emphasis of African culture and the contributions of Africans to the development of Western civilization. So there's plenty of ideas there. There's plenty of evidence there. Clearly, I'm biased though, right? So I just want to admit to that, put it out the front street that I'm clearly biased. All right. But if you look at Eurocentric thinking versus Afrocentric thinking, a lot of times, a lot of the issues that are taking place in the Black community are direct thoughts or direct adherence to Eurocentric thinking. Standards of beauty, standards of intelligence, origins of greatness, right? If you were to listen to some of the most quote unquote notable scholars, they'll tell you Greek and Rome is the center of everything when actually that's bullshit. Reality, this is proven. Most of Greek philosophy came from Kemet, which is also known as Egypt, right? Not trying to give y'all a geography lesson, but I think it's important, right, to give context to what Mr. Smith is talking about. And so going again back to what J.R. Smith was talking about in that video clip that I reviewed, I would encourage all of y'all go back and watch it so y'all can get the full feeling and full context, is that if we're sitting here running around, jumping, talking, thinking like white folks, and we're black folks, it's not going to serve black people. It will only serve white people. Because if you're thinking like them, who's it going to serve? That is a big issue with a lot of stuff that's going on, but we label it as hip hop. Media, big media, is owned by who? Not folks that look like you and most of my audience, right? It's owned by people of European descent. So if we're going to continue this narrative that hip hop is the problem, let's do a real deep dive into what really the problem is. And like J.R. Smith said, during the bubble, all his friends were on lockdown, but they had to go to these facilities that were white owned. But y'all make enough money to put money together and buy your own facility, build your own facility, rent your own facility. Why not do that? Why not be the owner and controller of your fate? But that all starts in the mind, right? Ownership starts in the mind, not in the bank account, not in the wallet. It starts in the mind, but you got to start there first. But I see there's some more comments, so I'll get back to those. Let's see. Give me 1 second, y'all. But what do y'all think about this overall, right? Again, I think Dr. Johnson makes a lot of great points. A lot of them. I just wish more of us did more research, dug into things a little bit deeper, and I don't know, begin to execute on that information. And I believe a lot of us are, but I need more. What do y'all think about that? All right, let me get back to this. All right. Give a man a fish. Eats for a day, teach a man to fish. He knows how to eat for a lifetime, or can eat for a lifetime. All right, Anthony Bass says, this new generation don't want any part of hard work that will bring success. I would disagree with that. I get what you're saying now. Again, oftentimes the way they present millennials and, I don't know, zennials and whatever other label they done came up with, they say that they don't want to work. A lot of them don't. I feel you on that. And it's definitely a new day. However, I would say that they don't want the same old. And guess what? Every generation does that. We did it in our generation. The generation before that did it. You know, when everybody was talking about the millennials, right? If you really look at the millennials and go back and look at baby boomers and how they operate and how they rock and how they move, they do the same stuff. They did the same stuff. Millennials were, not millennials, baby boomers were protesting the Vietnam War. Millennials were protesting George Floyd. BLM took to the streets. A lot of baby boomers did the same thing. A lot of baby boomers had, you know, the hippie movement, everything that went on with that, this whole love movement, right? So things go in phases, fits and starts. But I would also say that a lot of it happens. Young people have energy and they want to see all the wrongs changed immediately. But us old folks, myself, talking about myself, none of y'all in the audience, we know things take time, right? Revolutions usually, even when they occur, usually don't last. Evolutions are, however, things that change over time tend to stay in place. So my thought is, what are some of the small changes that we can keep in place and change over time? What are some of them? Could developing a habit of saving $1 out of every one of your paychecks change things? $10 out of your paycheck, $50 out of your paycheck, and doing it systematically, and then learning, educating yourself, right? How to educate yourself. A chapter a day, a page a day, read something new, or reread something old. Like, one thing I'll say this, right? We always talking about reading new books. A lot of us didn't learn the lessons from the old books, so maybe we should go back and reread some of the books that we read before and get some of those lessons. All right, Eunice says people want to complain about the gangster rap, which is bad. What are they doing with their money? Tyler Perry, some people don't agree about. Tyler Perry, some people they don't agree about. What does he do? God, I'm messing this up. Tyler Perry, some people don't agree about what he does, but he's giving back to the Black community. Not only is Tyler giving back to the Black community, he's helping to employ other Black creators and artists. So it's not just giving back. Remember I talked about that multiplier effect? I want y'all to think about that term, multiplier effect. Not only in your own life, investments, moves, endeavors, think about it as we're analyzing other people. Okay, cool. You grazed some turkeys. That's great. You fed them for a day. But when you look at a Tyler Perry, a Spike Lee, Spike gave Denzel bread for a day, helped to create a career for a lifetime. Same thing with Samuel L. Jackson. Same thing to a large extent with Halle Berry, right? When you look at a lot of the Black business owners, they've always kind of made a way for Black folks, right, to go to the next level. Not the same way that many people from outside of our culture doesn't do. And I say all that to say is like, a lot of times we condemn and put down Black folks, Black-owned businesses, but when you zoom out for a little bit, you're like, yo, when you look at the Barry Gordys, I was about to say somebody's name who's in coverage right now. I don't want to say his name, though. But when you look at the Barry Gordys, when you look at the Jay-Z's, when you look at some others, they have had some benefits. But then the question is, again, what have they done that's really going to be a multiplier effect? What have they created that can be used in the multiplier effect? Again, it's more than just that one day. All right, so Eunice says, very, very sad of the Black community. Oh, I got to give you the horns for this. Anthony Bass comes through and says, shiny object syndrome gets us every time. That's actually something I say. But listen, Anthony, I totally agree. Shiny object syndrome, meaning like that new, flashy, fun toy, right? Christmas is a great example. Kids get a new toy. Forget about the old toy. Even though the old toy they might have had fun with, it might be dope, it might look great. They forget all about it for the new thing. Sometimes they make their way back to that old toy, but oftentimes that old toy is lost. But guess what? We do the same thing. Adults do the same things. We get a new tool, right? It's like, oh, I got a hammer. It works. But I'm going to get this new flashy hammer that's titanium coated and light-weighted and can generate more power. This is all the advertising, right? But then you forget about that old hammer that you'd already invested in that is no longer useful. It's gone. So, great point, Anthony. All right, Eunice says, my husband and I, we have a cleaning business and we're making other moves. Congrats to you. And that's dope. And it's family owned. And it's going well. And we're trying to continue to build the momentum. Keep going. Get into, if you haven't done so, look into doing government contracts, Eunice. There's a lot of money there. All right, Eunice also says, I think it's both systemic racism as well as gangster rap, as well as other issues, right? At the end of the day, we have to start looking at things from a household perspective. It starts at home. Yes, I agree with that. We have to also try to reach the community, but it's also all about mindset as individuals as well as your own household, right? Listen, our environment, studies show that our environments are everything. If you have a toxic environment, it's really hard to elevate mentally higher than that toxicity that you're experiencing. So sometimes in that, right, you have to remove yourself. You have to remove the toxic environment. And sadly, if you're steeped in toxicity and you don't know anything else, you don't know how to look and seek for anything else also. And again, I'm not trying to be double-minded or make excuses. I say all that to say that life is complicated. All right, that's what I was trying to add on to it. Is that yes, he's giving back to the Black community, but yes, he is helping other entrepreneurs so that they can become a successful business owner. Gotcha. Janine, how are you? Welcome. I don't think I've ever seen you here, so gotta welcome you in correctly. Welcome. And all right, it says we gotta give back to other multipliers. That's right. That's correct. So multipliers are not just things; they can also be people. Also, all right. So we gotta give back to the other multipliers in the community for the effects to become greater. Unfortunately, giving to just takers also delays the process. Oh, that is a gem right there. But listen, everybody, I mean, we talked about it, right? We talked about Dr. Umar Johnson's take on things. What do y'all think about that? We've talked a little bit about Jim Jones and not Jim Jones, Rick Ross. Jim Jones, by the way, also had a response to D1's commentary, and he was talking about giving sneakers out and things like that. But overall, Black wealth versus hip hop. Is hip hop the reason for the demise and decline of Black wealth, or is it a little bit deeper than that? But I mean, put your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear and see your thoughts about this. I appreciate everybody attending today, hanging out with me today. We'll be doing more. Like I said, we got a Death in the Family, so little things got off kilter a little bit, but I'll be back on it, doing some things. But let me know what y'all would like to see more of me cover. Is there any topics you want me to cover? Go ahead and throw them in the chat. But until the next time, y'all, everybody have a great, I would say, happy Indigenous People Survivor Day. And y'all be great. And I will see you the next time. Everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.